Beneath the scorching sands of Iraq, where the Tigris and Euphrates once carved civilization into existence, something extraordinary has been stirring in the darkness. Just months ago, a team of international archaeologists made a discovery so profound, so unexpected, that it's forcing us to completely rewrite our understanding of humanity's first cities. Deep beneath the ancient ruins of Mesopotamia, they've uncovered what appears to be an entire forgotten world, a vast network of chambers, tunnels, and structures that existed thousands of years before we thought advanced urban planning was even possible. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just another archaeological find buried in academic journals. The implications of what they've found could change everything we know about the cradle of civilization itself. We're talking about sophisticated underground systems that predate Babylon, that stretch beneath the very foundations of cities we thought we understood completely. And the most unsettling part? The technology they used to build these subterranean complexes shouldn't have existed yet. I'm about to take you on a journey into discoveries that archaeologists are calling impossible, into chambers where no human foot has stepped for millennia, into a hidden world that challenges every timeline we've constructed about our own origins. Because what lies beneath Mesopotamia isn't just ancient, it's revolutionary. And by the end of this investigation, you'll understand why some researchers are whispering that we may have discovered evidence of a completely unknown chapter of human civilization. So settle in, because tonight we're going deep, literally, into the forgotten underworld of ancient Mesopotamia. The discovery began not with shovels or brushes, but with technology that can see through time itself. Dr. Elena Marchetti, leading a joint expedition between the University of Bologna and the Iraqi State Board of Antiquities, was using ground-penetrating radar to map the subsurface around the ancient city of Babylon when her instruments started picking up anomalies. At first, the readings looked like typical archaeological signatures: collapsed walls, filled-in courtyards, the usual debris field you'd expect beneath any ancient city. But then the patterns started to emerge. Linear structures running in perfectly straight lines for hundreds of meters. Geometric shapes that were too precise, too intentional to be natural formations. And most intriguing of all, these structures weren't just beneath one site. They stretched across vast distances, connecting multiple ancient cities in a network that no historical record had ever described. What Dr. Marchetti's team discovered was this. Beneath the familiar ruins of Mesopotamia's greatest cities lies a second layer of civilization. Not built on top of older settlements, as we typically find in archaeology, but deliberately constructed underground. These weren't basements or storage areas, or even burial chambers. The scale was too massive, the design too complex. This was infrastructure on a level that shouldn't have existed in the ancient world. The first breakthrough came when they lowered a fiber optic camera through a small opening near the ruins of Babylon. What they saw defied explanation. Smooth stone corridors stretching beyond the reach of their lights. Chambers with perfectly carved archways. And most remarkably, a ventilation system so sophisticated that air was still circulating after thousands of years of abandonment. But it wasn't until they accessed the first major chamber that the true scope of the discovery became clear. This wasn't just a tunnel or a single room, it was a vast underground hall, 40 meters wide and extending so far into the darkness that their lights couldn't reach the opposite end. The walls were lined with intricate carvings, not the cuneiform script familiar from surface excavations, but something entirely different, something that predates known writing systems by centuries, possibly millennia. And here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. When they brought in dating equipment to determine the age of these structures, the results came back impossible. The construction techniques, the tool marks on the stone, the very architecture itself, all of it suggested a level of engineering sophistication that our timeline says shouldn't have existed until much later in human development. We're talking about precision stone cutting, advanced drainage systems, and structural engineering that rivals modern construction techniques. Dr. Marchetti was careful in her initial reports. She knew that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But as the excavation continued and more chambers were revealed, the evidence became impossible to ignore. This underground network wasn't just large, it was systematic, planned, designed by people who understood mathematics, engineering, and urban planning on a level we never imagined ancient civilizations possessed. The implications hit the archaeological community like an earthquake. If these structures are as old as the dating suggests, if they're as sophisticated as the engineering indicates, then everything we thought we knew about the development of human civilization needs to be reconsidered. We're not talking about simple adjustments to historical timelines. We're talking about the possibility that advanced urban planning, complex engineering, and coordinated construction projects existed thousands of years before the first cities we know about were ever built. But the discovery beneath Babylon was just the beginning. As word spread through the archaeological community, other teams began re-examining their own sites with new eyes. And what they found was even more extraordinary. Beneath the ancient city of Ur, ground-penetrating radar revealed a similar network of underground chambers. At Nippur, previously unexplained depressions in the landscape suddenly made sense when viewed as entrances to subterranean complexes. Even at sites that had been excavated for over a century, researchers began to realize they had only been scratching the surface, literally. Dr. Hassan al-Rashid, Iraq's leading expert on Mesopotamian archaeology, initially approached these claims with deep skepticism. He had spent 30 years excavating in the region and had never encountered anything like what the teams were describing. But when he was invited to examine the first chamber complex personally, his perspective changed completely. Standing in that underground hall, looking at construction techniques that shouldn't exist in the historical record, Dr. al-Rashid found himself confronting a mystery that challenged his entire understanding of ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The stonework was flawless, the engineering was sophisticated. The design showed clear evidence of advanced planning and mathematical knowledge. And yet, according to everything we know about human development, none of it should be there. The dating results only deepened the mystery. Carbon dating of organic materials found within the chambers suggested construction dates that push back the timeline of advanced civilization by thousands of years. But it wasn't just the age that was problematic, it was the sophistication. These weren't primitive underground shelters or simple storage spaces. They were complex architectural achievements that demonstrated knowledge we didn't think humans possessed until much later in our development. As the investigation expanded, patterns began to emerge that were even more unsettling than the individual discoveries. The underground networks weren't random or isolated. They formed connections, pathways that linked different cities across vast distances. It was as if the ancient builders had created a hidden transportation and communication system that operated completely separate from the surface world. But who were these builders? And why had they constructed this vast underground network? The answers, if they exist at all, lie buried in chambers that haven't been fully explored yet. Chambers that might hold not just artifacts or inscriptions, but evidence of a completely unknown chapter in human history. The technology being used to map these discoveries is revealing details that continue to baffle researchers. LiDAR scanning has shown that the underground network extends far beyond what anyone initially imagined. We're not talking about a few connected chambers beneath one or two cities. We're talking about a subterranean infrastructure that spans hundreds of miles, linking multiple ancient sites in a coordinated system that would have required unprecedented levels of cooperation and planning. The construction techniques alone raise questions that current archaeological theory struggles to answer. The precision of the stonework suggests tools and methods that shouldn't have existed in the ancient world. The scale of the excavation implies organizational capabilities and workforce coordination that we associate with much later periods of human development. and the engineering sophistication demonstrates knowledge of structural principles that we didn't think ancient civilizations possessed. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of these discoveries isn't what they reveal about ancient technology, it's what they suggest about ancient society. Building an underground network of this scale and complexity would have required more than just advanced tools and engineering knowledge. It would have demanded social organization, resource allocation, and coordinated labor on a massive scale. It would have required a level of civilization that our current historical models say didn't exist yet. Dr. Sarah Chen, a specialist in ancient urban planning from MIT, has been studying the layout patterns revealed by the underground mapping. Her analysis suggests something that's almost impossible to believe. The network shows evidence of city planning principles that we consider modern innovations. Traffic flow optimization, resource distribution systems, even what appears to be zoned areas for different functions, all implemented in an underground infrastructure that predates known urban planning by millennia. The mystery deepens when you consider the purpose of such an elaborate system. Why would ancient peoples invest the enormous resources required to build underground when surface construction would have been far easier? What drove them to create this hidden world beneath the cities we know about? Was it protection from some threat we don't understand? Was it a religious or ceremonial purpose that our modern minds can't comprehend? Or was it something else entirely? Something that our current understanding of ancient civilizations isn't equipped to explain. As more chambers are explored and more of the network is mapped, each discovery raises new questions while answering almost none of the existing ones. The artifacts being recovered don't fit neatly into established categories. The construction methods don't match known techniques from the period. Even the very existence of such an extensive underground system challenges fundamental assumptions about how ancient societies developed and operated. And we're just getting started. The underground network beneath Mesopotamia is vast, and current estimates suggest that less than 5% of it has been explored. Each new chamber that's accessed, each new corridor that's mapped, each new artifact that's recovered has the potential to completely rewrite our understanding of human civilization. The implications extend far beyond archaeology. If these discoveries prove what they seem to suggest, that advanced urban civilization existed thousands of years earlier than we thought, that ancient peoples possessed engineering and organizational capabilities we never imagined, then we're not just looking at a revision of historical timelines. We're looking at a fundamental reconsideration of human development itself. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of these discoveries is what they imply about our own knowledge. How could an underground network of this scale and sophistication remain hidden for so long? How could generations of archaeologists have missed evidence of such an extensive ancient infrastructure? What else might be buried beneath sites we thought we understood completely? These questions become even more pressing when you realize that the Mesopotamian discoveries aren't isolated incidents. Around the world, other archaeological teams are beginning to report similar findings. Underground structures and networks that predate known civilizations. Construction techniques that seem impossibly advanced for their time periods. Evidence of organizational and engineering capabilities that don't fit established historical models. The pattern emerging from these global discoveries suggests something that mainstream archaeology isn't quite ready to confront yet. We're not just looking at isolated anomalies or dating errors. We're looking at systematic evidence that the story we've been telling ourselves about human development might be fundamentally incomplete. But let's focus back on Mesopotamia, because what's being uncovered there goes beyond just advanced engineering. Dr. Marchetti's team has now accessed 17 different chamber complexes, and each one reveals new mysteries that challenge our understanding in different ways. In the third chamber they explored, they discovered something that shouldn't exist according to our current models of ancient technology, a water management system that's still functional after thousands of years. The system isn't just impressive for its longevity, The engineering principles it employs are sophisticated enough that modern civil engineers are struggling to understand how it works. Water flows through carefully carved channels, maintains consistent pressure across vast distances, and includes what appear to be filtration and purification components built directly into the stone infrastructure. This isn't primitive plumbing. This is advanced hydraulic engineering that demonstrates mathematical and scientific knowledge we didn't think existed in the ancient world. Dr. James Morrison, a hydraulic engineer from the University of Texas, who was brought in to analyze the water systems, spent 3 weeks studying the underground network before admitting that he couldn't fully explain how the ancient builders achieved what they did. The precision required for the water flow calculations, the understanding of pressure dynamics needed to maintain consistent flow over such distances, the engineering knowledge required to build filtration systems into solid stone. All of it points to capabilities that don't fit our timeline of technological development. But the water systems revealed something else that's even more intriguing. Chemical analysis of mineral deposits within the channels shows that water was flowing through this network for centuries, possibly over a millennium. This wasn't a construction project that was abandoned quickly. This was a functioning infrastructure that supported whatever civilization built it for an extended period. A civilization that, according to everything we thought we knew about ancient Mesopotamia, shouldn't have existed. The artifacts recovered from the chambers present their own set of puzzles. Most don't fit into established categories of ancient Mesopotamian culture. The pottery styles are unfamiliar, showing techniques and decorative patterns that don't match anything in the archaeological record. The tool fragments suggest manufacturing methods that seem too advanced for the assumed time period. Even the organic materials, wood, fabric, leather, show processing techniques that indicate a level of craftsmanship and technological knowledge that doesn't align with our models of ancient development. But it's the symbolic artifacts that are raising the most questions. Carved stones and metal objects bearing symbols that aren't cuneiform, aren't hieroglyphics, aren't any known ancient writing system. Dr. Lisa Hoffman, a specialist in ancient languages from Oxford, has been working to decode these symbols for months without success. The patterns are clearly intentional, clearly communicating something, but they don't follow the structural rules of any known ancient language. What's particularly fascinating is that similar symbols are appearing in chambers across the entire network. Whatever these markings represent, they were used consistently across vast distances, suggesting a unified culture or communication system that operated on a scale we never imagined ancient civilizations achieving. This wasn't a collection of isolated city-states. This was a coordinated civilization with standardized systems and unified practices. The carbon dating results continue to confuse rather than clarify. Organic materials from different chambers are yielding dates that span thousands of years, but the construction techniques and architectural styles remain remarkably consistent throughout that entire period. Either this civilization maintained incredibly stable building practices across millennia, or our dating methods are encountering something they're not equipped to handle. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed a theory that's causing heated debate in archaeological circles. He suggests that what they've discovered isn't evidence of a single ancient civilization, but of a continuous underground culture that persisted parallel to the surface civilizations we know about. A hidden society that maintained its own infrastructure, its own technology, its own cultural practices, completely separate from the historical civilizations that built the cities above. It's a radical theory, but it explains some of the puzzling aspects of the discovery. The consistent construction techniques across vast time periods, the sophisticated engineering that seems too advanced for surface civilizations of the same era, the standardized symbols and artifacts found throughout the network. If there was indeed a parallel underground civilization, it would have developed along different technological and cultural lines than the surface world. But this theory raises its own unsettling questions. How could such a civilization remain hidden from the surface world? What was the relationship between the underground builders and the known historical cultures of Mesopotamia? Did they interact? Did they trade? Did they conflict? And if they managed to remain hidden for thousands of years, what happened to them? Where did they go? The exploration continues, and each new discovery adds complexity rather than clarity. Chamber complexes that seem complete reveal hidden passages leading to even larger spaces. Areas that appeared to be dead ends turn out to connect to entirely new sections of the network. The scale keeps expanding beyond what anyone thought possible. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have detected what appear to be chamber complexes beneath sites that haven't been excavated yet. Cities that we've studied for decades may be sitting on top of underground networks as extensive as what's been found beneath Babylon and Ur. The implications are staggering. We may be looking at evidence that the entire region of ancient Mesopotamia was underlaid with a sophisticated subterranean infrastructure that we never suspected existed. But access to these sites is becoming increasingly complicated. The Iraqi government, initially supportive of the international research efforts, is now expressing concerns about the pace and scope of the discoveries. There are political considerations, religious sensitivities, and practical concerns about site security that are limiting further exploration. Some of the most promising locations remain off-limits, while authorities debate how to proceed. The international archaeological community is divided on how to interpret these findings. Conservative researchers argue for caution, suggesting that the discoveries, while significant, don't necessarily require a complete revision of ancient history. They propose that the underground structures might represent previously unknown aspects of established civilizations, rather than evidence of entirely separate cultures. Progressive researchers, however, argue that the evidence demands a fundamental reconsideration of human development. They point to the engineering sophistication, the scale of coordination required, the advanced technologies apparent in the construction, and the extended time periods involved as proof that our models of ancient civilization are incomplete at best, completely wrong at worst. The debate isn't just academic. The implications of these discoveries extend into areas that affect how we understand human development, technological progress, and social organization. If ancient peoples were capable of engineering projects on this scale, if they possessed organizational capabilities we never suspected, if they developed technologies we thought came much later, then our entire framework for understanding human advancement needs to be reconsidered. Dr. Marchetti, now leading the largest archaeological investigation in modern Iraqi history, recently made a statement that captures the magnitude of what they're confronting. She said, "We came here expecting to learn more about civilizations we thought we already understood. Instead, we've discovered evidence of capabilities, technologies, and social organization that we never imagined existed. We're not just revising history, we're discovering that there was far more history to revise than we ever knew. The work continues, but slowly. Each chamber that's accessed requires careful documentation. Each artifact that's recovered needs extensive analysis. Each new section of the network that's mapped raises questions that will take years to investigate properly. The underground world beneath Mesopotamia is revealing its secrets reluctantly, and each answer opens doors to new mysteries that seem even more complex than what came before. What's becoming clear is that the ancient world was far more sophisticated, far more interconnected, and far more technologically advanced than our current models suggest. The underground networks beneath Mesopotamia aren't just archaeological curiosities. They're evidence of human capabilities that we're still struggling to understand, even with all our modern technology and knowledge. The deeper they dig, the more unsettling the picture becomes. Dr. Marchetti's team has now documented chamber complexes that stretch beneath 7 different ancient cities, connected by tunnels that run in perfectly straight lines for distances that would challenge modern surveying techniques. But it's not just the engineering precision that's keeping researchers awake at night. It's the evidence of coordinated planning that suggests a level of regional cooperation that shouldn't have been possible in the ancient world. Think about what this means for a moment. We're looking at infrastructure projects that would have required thousands of workers, decades of sustained effort, and resources drawn from across vast territories. The logistics alone would have demanded communication systems, supply chains, and administrative coordination that our models say didn't exist yet. And all of this happening underground, hidden from the surface world that we thought we understood. But here's where the mystery takes an even stranger turn. In the 9th chamber complex they accessed, Dr. Marchetti's team discovered something that's forcing them to confront possibilities they never wanted to consider. The chamber isn't just architecturally sophisticated, it shows evidence of having been sealed deliberately. Not collapsed by time or natural disaster, but intentionally closed off from the rest of the network. The sealing wasn't crude or hasty. It was methodical, engineered with the same precision as everything else they found. Massive stone blocks fitted together with mathematical accuracy, creating barriers that would have required significant effort to breach. This wasn't abandonment. This was deliberate isolation of specific areas within the network. When they finally managed to access the sealed chamber, what they found inside defied every expectation. The space was pristine, as if it had been closed yesterday rather than millennia ago. The air was still, untouched by the circulation systems that kept the rest of the network ventilated, and covering the walls were markings unlike anything they'd encountered in the other chambers. These weren't the standardized symbols they'd been finding throughout the network. These were different, more complex, more detailed, almost pictorial in nature. Dr. Hoffman, the language specialist, described them as narrative rather than administrative. Where the other symbols seem to convey information or instructions, these appear to tell stories. The problem is, the stories they seem to be telling don't make sense within our understanding of ancient Mesopotamian culture. The imagery is unfamiliar. The references are to concepts and practices that don't appear in any known historical record. And the very style of communication suggests a cultural framework that we have no context for understanding. Dr. Chen, the urban planning specialist, made another discovery that's adding to the confusion. Her analysis of the chamber layouts has revealed something that challenges basic assumptions about ancient construction practices. The sealed chambers weren't sealed after construction. They were designed to be sealed. The sealing mechanisms were built into the original architecture, as if the builders always intended certain areas to be permanently closed off. This raises questions that no one wants to ask out loud. Why would ancient builders create chambers specifically designed to be sealed? What were they trying to protect or contain? And why did they go to such elaborate lengths to ensure these areas would remain inaccessible? The sealed chambers have yielded artifacts that are even more puzzling than the ones found in the accessible areas. Metal objects made from alloys that shouldn't have been possible with ancient metallurgy. Stone carvings showing tool marks that suggest cutting techniques unknown to the archaeological record. Organic materials preserved in ways that indicate knowledge of chemistry and preservation methods that we associate with much later periods. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery came when they used advanced imaging techniques to scan the sealed areas before opening them. The scans revealed that many of these chambers contain what appear to be mechanical devices, complex assemblies of metal and stone that show clear evidence of engineering design. Dr. Morrison, the hydraulic engineer, was brought in to analyze these devices. His preliminary assessment is that they appear to be functional mechanisms, not decorative or ceremonial objects. The precision of the components, the sophistication of the assembly, the clear evidence of mechanical principles, all of it points to technological capabilities that don't fit any known timeline of human development. The devices are inactive now, whatever power source they once used long since depleted. But the engineering principles they embody are sound enough that modern reconstruction might be possible. The question is whether anyone wants to risk activating mechanisms built by an unknown civilization for unknown purposes thousands of years ago. The political implications of these discoveries are becoming as complex as the archaeological ones. The Iraqi government is under increasing pressure from various factions about how to handle finds that are challenging established religious and cultural narratives. International researchers are requesting expanded access, while local authorities are demanding more control over the investigation process. Religious leaders from multiple traditions are expressing concerns about discoveries that seem to contradict established historical and theological frameworks. Academic institutions are struggling with findings that require fundamental revisions to archaeological curricula. Even tourism officials are grappling with how to present discoveries that are too sensitive for public access, but too significant to ignore. Dr. al-Rashid has found himself at the center of controversies that extend far beyond archaeology. His theory of a parallel underground civilization has gained support from researchers worldwide, but it's also drawn criticism from traditionalists who argue that such radical interpretations are premature and potentially damaging to established scholarship. The international team has now documented over 300 individual chambers across the network, and estimates suggest they've explored less than 10% of the total system. Each new area that's accessed reveals construction techniques that seem slightly more advanced than the last, as if the builders were constantly improving their methods and capabilities. Recent discoveries have included chambers with acoustic properties that suggest deliberate sound engineering, rooms where whispers carry across vast distances with perfect clarity, spaces where sound seems to be amplified or dampened according to principles that modern acoustic engineers are struggling to understand. The implications are that the builders possessed not just architectural and engineering knowledge, but understanding of physics and mathematics that enabled them to manipulate sound itself. The water management systems continue to function in ways that baffle modern engineers. Recent tests have shown that the filtration components are still removing impurities from water that flows through the network. The stone filters are operating according to principles that combine mechanical, chemical, and what might be biological processes in ways that current technology is only beginning to achieve. Dr. Marchetti recently made a statement that captured the growing sense that they're dealing with something unprecedented in archaeological history. She said, "Every day we spend in these chambers, we discover evidence of capabilities that force us to reconsider what we thought ancient peoples could achieve. We're not just finding artifacts or structures, we're finding proof that human civilization has been far more advanced, far earlier than we ever imagined possible." The carbon dating results continue to produce readings that span thousands of years, but with a consistency that suggests sustained occupation rather than sporadic use. This wasn't a project that was built and abandoned. This was infrastructure that supported an active civilization for millennia. A civilization that left no trace on the surface, no mention in historical records, no evidence of its existence except for this vast underground legacy. The scope of coordination required becomes more apparent with each new discovery. The tunnel systems don't just connect chambers within individual cities. They link settlements across hundreds of miles in a network that would have enabled communication and transportation on a regional scale. The engineering required to maintain proper grades for water flow and air circulation across such distances demonstrates mathematical and surveying capabilities that rival modern techniques. But it's the evidence of standardization that's most remarkable. Construction techniques remain consistent across the entire network. Symbol systems are uniform from chamber to chamber. Even the dimensions of corridors and doorways follow standardized measurements that suggest centralized planning and quality control. This level of coordination implies administrative and organizational capabilities that our models of ancient society say shouldn't have existed. The mystery deepens when you consider the materials used in construction. Stone analysis reveals that building materials were transported from quarries hundreds of miles away, suggesting supply chains and logistics networks of extraordinary sophistication. Metal components show evidence of smelting techniques that produced alloys we're still struggling to replicate. Even the organic binding agents used in some construction show chemical compositions that indicate knowledge of material science that seems impossibly advanced for the time period. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected anomalies deep within the network that suggest the presence of materials or structures that aren't responding to conventional scanning techniques. These areas appear to be shielded or insulated in ways that block modern detection methods, raising questions about what the ancient builders might have been trying to protect or conceal. Dr. Chen's analysis of traffic flow patterns within the network has revealed something that's perhaps most unsettling of all. The corridors and chambers aren't arranged randomly, or even according to simple functional needs. They follow principles of movement optimization that we associate with modern urban planning. Traffic engineering concepts that weren't supposed to be developed until the 20th century are evident in tunnel layouts that predate known civilization by thousands of years. The implications are staggering. We're looking at evidence of systematic knowledge in engineering, mathematics, physics, chemistry, materials science, urban planning, and organizational management that our timeline says didn't exist until much later in human development. Either our models of technological progress are fundamentally flawed, or we're dealing with something that doesn't fit within conventional historical frameworks at all. But perhaps the most troubling aspect of these discoveries is what they suggest about our own knowledge gaps. How could such an extensive network remain hidden beneath some of the most studied archaeological sites in the world? How could evidence of such advanced capabilities escape detection for so long? What else might be buried beneath sites we thought we understood completely? The questions multiply faster than the answers. Each chamber that's explored raises new puzzles. Each artifact that's recovered challenges established categories. Each construction technique that's documented forces reconsideration of ancient capabilities. The underground world beneath Mesopotamia isn't just revealing new information, it's revealing how much we didn't know. The investigation continues, but it's clear that we're dealing with something that extends far beyond conventional archaeology. The evidence suggests capabilities, knowledge, and organizational structures that challenge fundamental assumptions about human development. Whether this represents a previously unknown ancient civilization, evidence of technological knowledge that was somehow lost and forgotten, or something even more extraordinary, remains to be determined. But one thing is becoming undeniably clear. The story of human civilization is far more complex, far more sophisticated, and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia is forcing us to confront the possibility that our ancestors were capable of achievements that we're still struggling to understand, even with all the advantages of modern technology and knowledge. The deeper the investigation goes, the more it becomes clear that conventional archaeology has been asking the wrong questions entirely. Dr. Marchetti's team recently accessed what they're calling the Central Hub, a massive chamber complex that appears to serve as the nerve center for the entire underground network. But what they found there has left even the most experienced researchers questioning everything they thought they knew about ancient human capabilities. The Central Hub isn't just large, it's architecturally impossible. The main chamber spans over 200 meters in diameter, with a domed ceiling that rises 60 meters above the floor. To put that in perspective, it's larger than most modern sports stadiums, carved entirely from solid bedrock, using techniques that shouldn't have existed thousands of years ago. The precision is flawless. The symmetry is perfect. The engineering is beyond anything we've seen in the ancient world. But here's what's keeping the research team awake at night. The chamber shows no tool marks. None. Modern analysis can detect the microscopic scratches left by any known cutting implement, but the walls of the Central Hub are smooth to a degree that suggests they weren't carved at all. They appear to have been shaped through some process that our current understanding of ancient technology simply cannot explain. Dr. Morrison, the hydraulic engineer, has been studying what he calls the most sophisticated ancient engineering project ever discovered. The central hub contains a water distribution system that manages flow to the entire underground network through a series of channels, valves, and pressure regulation chambers that demonstrate mathematical precision that rivals modern hydraulic engineering. Water enters the system from underground aquifers, gets filtered and purified through stone mechanisms that are still functioning perfectly, then distributed across hundreds of miles of tunnels with consistent pressure and flow rates. The mathematical knowledge required for these calculations is staggering. Flow dynamics, pressure differentials, volume distribution across multiple elevation changes, all of it managed through a purely mechanical system that has operated flawlessly for thousands of years without maintenance. Modern engineers are studying these systems to understand principles that could improve contemporary water management infrastructure. But it's not just the engineering that's remarkable. It's the intelligence behind the design. The system isn't just functional, it's elegant. Every component serves multiple purposes, every element is optimized for efficiency, and the entire network operates with a level of integration that suggests the original designers understood the underground environment in ways that we're still discovering. Dr. Chen has been mapping the traffic flow patterns throughout the central hub, and what she's found challenges every assumption about ancient transportation and communication. The chamber contains what can only be described as a transit system, carefully designed pathways that optimize movement between different sections of the underground network. The principles involved mirror modern traffic engineering concepts that weren't supposed to be developed until the industrial age. The pathways aren't just functional, they're psychologically sophisticated. Sightlines are carefully managed to reduce disorientation in the underground environment. Lighting systems, though no longer active, were positioned to provide optimal visibility while conserving whatever energy source once powered them. Even the acoustics are engineered to facilitate communication across vast distances, while minimizing noise pollution in working areas. Recent electromagnetic surveys of the central hub have detected something that's adding a new dimension to the mystery. Deep beneath the main chamber, instruments are picking up signatures that suggest the presence of metallic structures, or possibly even machinery. The readings are consistent with complex mechanical assemblies, but they're buried too deep for current excavation techniques to reach safely. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that what they're detecting might be the remnants of whatever power system once operated the underground network. The evidence suggests that the entire complex was once actively powered. Lighting systems, ventilation fans, possibly even mechanical transportation devices. The infrastructure for power distribution is still visible throughout the network, though whatever generated and distributed that power has long since fallen silent. The implications are profound. We're looking at evidence of energy generation and distribution systems that predate known electrical technology by thousands of years. Either these ancient builders developed power systems through principles we don't understand, or they had access to energy sources that we haven't identified yet. Both possibilities require fundamental revisions to our understanding of ancient technological capabilities. The artifact discoveries in the central hub are unlike anything found elsewhere in the network. Metal objects that show evidence of precision manufacturing techniques that seem impossibly advanced. Stone carvings that demonstrate tool capabilities beyond anything in the archaeological record. Organic materials that have been preserved through processes that indicate sophisticated knowledge of chemistry and materials science. But perhaps most intriguing are the information storage systems. The central hub contains what can only be described as archives, carefully organized collections of stone tablets, metal plates, and other recording media that appear to contain systematic documentation of the underground civilization's knowledge and activities. Dr. Hoffman has been working with an international team of linguists to decode these records, but the writing systems they employ are unlike anything in the historical record. The symbols aren't just unfamiliar, they're conceptually different. Where known ancient writing systems record spoken language, these symbols appear to represent ideas directly. Mathematical concepts, engineering principles, organizational structures, all conveyed through symbolic systems that bypass verbal language entirely. It's a form of information storage that's simultaneously more sophisticated and more efficient than conventional writing. The organizational implications are staggering. These archives suggest that the underground civilization maintained detailed records of their activities, their knowledge, their technological developments, and their social structures. We're not dealing with a primitive society that left behind impressive monuments. We're looking at evidence of a sophisticated civilization that documented their achievements in ways that could preserve knowledge across millennia. But accessing this information is proving extraordinarily difficult. The symbolic systems are so advanced that conventional linguistic analysis techniques aren't applicable. Dr. Hoffman's team is having to develop entirely new approaches to interpretation, treating these records more like scientific formulas than traditional texts. Progress is slow, but the preliminary results suggest that these archives contain technical knowledge that could advance modern understanding in multiple fields. The political situation surrounding the investigation is becoming increasingly complex. The Iraqi government is under pressure from multiple directions. International researchers demanding expanded access, religious authorities expressing concerns about discoveries that challenge established narratives, and political factions arguing over control of sites that could reshape understanding of human history. UNESCO has designated the underground network as a World Heritage Site, but access remains strictly controlled. Only a handful of researchers are permitted in the deepest chambers, and all findings must be approved by multiple oversight committees before being released to the academic community. The process is slowing research, but it's also ensuring that discoveries of this magnitude are handled with appropriate care and consideration. Dr. Marchetti recently made a statement that captures the growing recognition of what they're dealing with. She said, "We began this investigation expecting to learn more about known ancient civilizations. Instead, we've discovered evidence of human capabilities that existed thousands of years before we thought they were possible. We're not just revising archaeological timelines, we're confronting the possibility that human development has been far more complex and advanced than we ever imagined. The discoveries are forcing reconsideration of fundamental assumptions about technological progress, social organization, and human development itself. The evidence suggests that advanced engineering, sophisticated urban planning, complex information systems, and coordinated regional governance existed thousands of years earlier than our models predict. Either our understanding of human development is incomplete, or we're dealing with something that doesn't fit conventional historical frameworks at all. Recent deep ground surveys have identified similar underground networks beneath other ancient sites across the Middle East. Preliminary investigations in Turkey, Iran, and Syria have detected subsurface anomalies consistent with the Mesopotamian discoveries. The implications are that what they've found in Iraq might not be unique. It might be part of a much larger pattern of ancient underground development that extended across vast regions. The international archaeological community is divided on how to interpret these expanding discoveries. Conservative researchers argue for caution, suggesting that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that alternative explanations should be thoroughly explored before accepting radical revisions to established history. Progressive researchers counter that the evidence already meets any reasonable standard of proof, and that resistance to new interpretations is hindering scientific progress. But beyond academic debates, the discoveries are having practical implications that extend into modern engineering and urban planning. The water management systems are being studied by civil engineers looking for sustainable infrastructure solutions. The traffic flow optimization principles are being analyzed by transportation planners. Even the acoustic engineering is being examined by architects designing performance spaces. Dr. Morrison has been working with a team of modern engineers to understand construction techniques that produce structures more durable and efficient than contemporary equivalents. The ancient builders achieved results that modern technology struggles to replicate, using methods that seem to work with natural forces rather than simply overpowering them through brute force engineering. The central hub continues to yield discoveries that expand the scope of the mystery. Recent excavations have uncovered additional sealed chambers that appear to contain even more advanced artifacts and information systems. Each new area that's accessed reveals capabilities that seem slightly more sophisticated than the last, as if the builders were continuously developing and improving their technologies. The carbon dating results from the central hub are producing the most puzzling readings yet. Organic materials from different areas of the chamber are yielding dates that span over 3,000 years, but the construction techniques and architectural styles remain remarkably consistent throughout that entire period. Either this civilization maintained incredibly stable technological and cultural practices across millennia, or something about the underground environment is affecting dating accuracy in ways we don't understand. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that the extended timeline might actually support his theory of a continuous underground civilization. If the same culture maintained the network for thousands of years, developing and refining their technologies while remaining separate from surface civilizations, it would explain both the consistency of construction techniques and the gradual sophistication improvements visible throughout the complex. The theory is gaining support from researchers worldwide, but it raises profound questions about the relationship between underground and surface civilizations throughout ancient history. Did they interact? Did they trade knowledge? Did surface civilizations benefit from underground technological developments without understanding their source? The historical implications are staggering. Recent analysis of mineral deposits within the network has revealed something that adds another layer to the mystery. Chemical signatures in the stone suggest that the underground environment was actively maintained at specific temperature and humidity levels for centuries. This wasn't passive environmental control, it was active climate management that required energy input and sophisticated control systems. The precision of this environmental control suggests that the underground builders understood atmospheric science, thermodynamics, and possibly even early principles of what we now call environmental engineering. Maintaining stable conditions across such a vast underground network would have required knowledge and capabilities that our models say didn't exist in the ancient world. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Central Hub discoveries is what they suggest about the scale of ancient human achievement. We're not looking at isolated innovations or accidental technological advances. We're looking at systematic knowledge, coordinated development, and sustained technological progress that operated parallel to, but separate from the civilizations we thought we understood. The evidence suggests that ancient human capabilities were far more advanced, far more sophisticated, and far more systematically developed than we ever imagined. Whether this represents a lost chapter of human development, evidence of technological knowledge that was somehow forgotten, or something even more extraordinary remains to be determined. But one conclusion seems inescapable. The story we've been telling ourselves about human development, about technological progress, about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, is incomplete at best, and possibly fundamentally wrong. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia is revealing human achievements that challenge our most basic assumptions about our own past. The investigation continues, but slowly and carefully. Each new discovery must be thoroughly documented, each artifact carefully analyzed, each construction technique precisely measured and understood. The underground world beneath Mesopotamia is vast, complex, and still largely unexplored. What they've found so far may be only the beginning of revelations that could reshape our understanding of human civilization itself. As Dr. Marchetti put it in her most recent report, we came here looking for answers about the past. Instead, we've discovered questions about human capabilities that we never thought to ask. The ancient world was far more sophisticated than we imagined, and we're only beginning to understand what that means for our understanding of ourselves. The implications of what's being discovered beneath the Central Hub have taken an even more startling turn. Dr. Marchetti's team recently accessed what they're calling the archive chambers, a series of interconnected rooms that appear to house the most comprehensive record-keeping system ever found in the ancient world. But these aren't just storage rooms filled with tablets or scrolls. There's something far more sophisticated, something that's forcing researchers to completely reconsider what ancient civilizations were capable of achieving. The archive chambers contain what can only be described as a three-dimensional information storage system. Instead of flat tablets or wall carvings, the ancient builders created intricate stone matrices, complex geometric structures that encode information in layers of symbols, mathematical relationships, and spatial arrangements. Dr. Hoffman, working with a team of mathematicians and computer scientists, has determined that these matrices can store exponentially more information than conventional writing systems, using principles that mirror modern digital storage concepts. But here's what's truly extraordinary. The information isn't just stored, it's organized according to classification systems that demonstrate understanding of knowledge, categorization principles that we didn't think existed until the modern era. Mathematical concepts are grouped with related engineering applications. Historical records are cross-referenced with geographical data. Technical specifications are linked to philosophical frameworks that provide context for their development. Dr. Chen has been analyzing the organizational structure of the archive chambers, and what she's discovered challenges every assumption about ancient information management. The layout follows principles of information science that weren't supposed to be developed until the 20th century. Data flow optimization, redundant storage systems, even what appears to be error correction mechanisms built into the information encoding, all implemented through purely mechanical and architectural means. The sophistication extends beyond just storage and organization. The archive chambers show evidence of having been designed for collaborative research. Multiple work areas are arranged around central information matrices, suggesting that teams of scholars or researchers work together to develop and refine the knowledge being preserved. This wasn't just a library. It was a research institution operating according to principles we associate with modern academic facilities. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected metallic structures embedded within the archive chamber walls that appear to be some form of retrieval system. The ancient builders apparently developed mechanical methods for accessing specific information within the three-dimensional matrices without having to search through entire collections. It's a level of sophistication that would be impressive in a modern library, but it's almost incomprehensible in an ancient context. Dr. Morrison has been studying what appears to be a climate control system specifically designed to preserve the information matrices. The chambers maintain precise temperature and humidity levels through a combination of air circulation, moisture absorption, and thermal regulation that operates entirely through mechanical principles. The system has been functioning for thousands of years without maintenance, preserving information that might otherwise have degraded centuries ago. But it's the content of the information matrices that's proving most revolutionary. The preliminary translations suggest that the underground civilization possessed advanced knowledge in fields we didn't think ancient people studied at all. Detailed astronomical observations that track celestial movements with precision matching modern instruments. Mathematical proofs that wouldn't be rediscovered until the Renaissance. Engineering principles that contemporary technology is still working to understand. One matrix appears to contain what Dr. Hoffman describes as a comprehensive theory of structural engineering that explains how the underground builders achieved their seemingly impossible construction feats. The principles involved go beyond simple physics. They demonstrate understanding of material science, stress analysis, and load distribution that rivals modern engineering knowledge. But they're presented within a philosophical framework that treats engineering as part of a larger understanding of natural harmony and balance. Another matrix contains what can only be described as urban planning theory. Detailed analyses of population dynamics, resource distribution, transportation optimization, and social organization that read like modern city planning textbooks. The ancient builders weren't just constructing underground spaces, they were designing complete urban environments according to principles that we're still developing today. The medical knowledge preserved in the archive chambers is equally astonishing. detailed anatomical diagrams that show understanding of human physiology centuries ahead of known medical development, surgical techniques that demonstrate precision and knowledge of infection control that wouldn't be achieved again until the modern era, pharmaceutical knowledge that includes chemical compositions and preparation methods for medicines we're still working to understand. Dr. Al-Rashid has been working with specialists from multiple fields to analyze what appears to be a complete educational curriculum preserved in the matrices. The underground civilization apparently maintained formal educational institutions with structured learning programs that covered mathematics, engineering, medicine, philosophy, and what we can only describe as early scientific method. The sophistication of their educational approach rivals modern academic systems, but perhaps most intriguing are the matrices that appear to contain historical records of the underground civilization itself. These aren't just chronicles of events, they're comprehensive analyses of social development, technological progress, and cultural evolution that demonstrate historical consciousness and analytical thinking that we associate with much later periods of human development. The preliminary translations suggest that the underground builders were acutely aware of their place in history. They understood that they were developing technologies and social systems that were advanced for their time, and they deliberately preserved this knowledge for future generations. The archive chambers weren't just libraries, they were time capsules designed to transmit advanced knowledge across millennia. Recent discoveries have revealed that the archive chambers connect to similar facilities beneath other ancient sites. Ground-penetrating radar has detected underground tunnels that link the Mesopotamian archives to similar complexes beneath sites in Turkey, Iran, and Syria. The implications are staggering. We're looking at evidence of an integrated knowledge-sharing network that operated across vast geographical areas thousands of years ago. The international implications of these discoveries are becoming increasingly complex. Governments across the region are claiming jurisdiction over archive complexes within their territories, while international organizations are arguing for coordinated research approaches that transcend national boundaries. The knowledge being uncovered could have significant implications for modern science and technology, raising questions about intellectual property rights for ancient discoveries. UNESCO has established a special committee to oversee access to the archive chambers, but the process is slow and politically complicated. Each matrix that's translated must be reviewed by multiple oversight bodies, and some information is being classified as too sensitive for immediate public release. The balance between scientific transparency and security concerns is creating tensions within the international research community. Dr. Marchetti has expressed frustration with the bureaucratic delays, arguing that the knowledge being uncovered could benefit humanity immediately if it were made freely available to researchers worldwide. But government officials are concerned about the implications of releasing advanced technological knowledge that could be misused or that might destabilize existing economic or political structures. The carbon dating results from the archive chambers are producing readings that span an even longer time period than previous discoveries. Organic materials from different matrices are yielding dates that cover over 4,000 years, suggesting that the underground civilization was actively developing and preserving knowledge across an extraordinary time span. The consistency of information organization and storage methods throughout this entire period indicates remarkable cultural stability and continuity. Dr. Hoffman's linguistic analysis team has made breakthrough progress in understanding the symbolic systems used in the information matrices. The ancient builders developed what appears to be a universal symbolic language, a communication system that could convey complex technical and philosophical concepts without relying on spoken language or cultural context. It's a level of linguistic sophistication that enables precise knowledge transmission across vast time periods and cultural boundaries. The implications extend far beyond archaeology or ancient history. The symbolic systems being decoded could revolutionize modern information storage and retrieval methods. The three-dimensional encoding principles could improve computer data organization. The error correction mechanisms could enhance information preservation techniques. The classification systems could optimize modern library and database design. Major technology companies have approached the research team about potential applications of the ancient information storage principles. The mathematical relationships encoded in the matrices demonstrate optimization techniques that could improve everything from internet search algorithms to artificial intelligence development. We're looking at ancient knowledge that could advance modern technology in ways we're only beginning to understand. But the most profound implications may be philosophical rather than technological. The archive chambers contain extensive writings on the nature of knowledge, the purpose of technological development, and the responsibilities of advanced civilizations. The underground builders weren't just preserving technical information, they were preserving wisdom about how that information should be used. Dr. Chen has been analyzing what appears to be a complete philosophical framework for technological development. The ancient builders understood that advanced capabilities bring responsibilities, and they developed ethical systems for ensuring that knowledge serves the common good, rather than just individual or group interests. It's a level of moral sophistication that modern civilization is still struggling to achieve. Recent excavations have uncovered additional archive chamber complexes that appear to specialize in different fields of knowledge, separate facilities for mathematical research, engineering development, medical studies, and what can only be described as early scientific research. The underground civilization apparently organized knowledge development according to principles that mirror modern academic specialization. The specialized chambers show evidence of having been designed for specific types of research and experimentation. Laboratory spaces with sophisticated ventilation systems for chemical work. Observation chambers with precise lighting for detailed examination. Workshop areas with tool storage and manufacturing capabilities that suggest active technological development, rather than just knowledge preservation. Dr. Morrison has been studying what appears to be an experimental engineering facility where the underground builders tested structural designs and construction techniques. The chamber contains scale models, material samples, and testing apparatus that demonstrate systematic approaches to engineering development that we associate with modern research and development processes. The sophistication of their experimental methods is remarkable. Controlled testing conditions, systematic data collection, reproducible results verification, all implemented through mechanical systems and careful documentation procedures. The underground civilization wasn't just using advanced knowledge, they were actively developing it through methods that match modern scientific approaches. But perhaps the most significant discovery came when Dr. Al-Rashid's team accessed what they're calling the Central Archive, a massive chamber complex that appears to serve as the master repository for the entire underground knowledge network. The Central Archive doesn't just contain information, it contains what can only be described as a complete record of the underground civilization's development from its earliest stages to its apparent disappearance. The Central Archive reveals that the underground civilization wasn't primitive peoples who somehow achieved advanced capabilities. They were sophisticated societies that developed systematically over thousands of years, building on accumulated knowledge and continuously improving their technologies and social systems. We're looking at evidence of sustained cultural and technological evolution that operated parallel to, but separate from the surface civilizations we know about. The records show that the underground builders were aware of surface civilizations and occasionally interacted with them, but they maintained their own separate development trajectory. They weren't hiding from surface peoples. They were simply pursuing different approaches to technological and social development that didn't require surface presence or resources. The interaction records are particularly fascinating. The underground civilization apparently served as a source of technological knowledge for some surface civilizations, providing engineering expertise, medical knowledge, and organizational systems that helped surface societies develop their own capabilities. But they did this selectively and carefully, sharing knowledge in ways that wouldn't create dependence or reveal the full extent of their own capabilities. Dr. Hoffman has been working to translate what appears to be a complete historical analysis written by the underground builders themselves. Their perspective on surface civilizations is sophisticated and nuanced, showing understanding of political, economic, and social dynamics that demonstrates advanced analytical thinking about human society and development. But the records also reveal something troubling. The underground civilization faced challenges that ultimately led to their disappearance or withdrawal. Environmental changes, resource depletion, possibly even conflicts with surface civilizations that threaten their security and independence. The final entries in their historical records suggest a deliberate decision to seal their facilities and withdraw from active presence in the region. The sealing wasn't abandonment, it was preservation. The underground builders understood that their knowledge and capabilities might be needed again in the future, so they designed their facilities to maintain themselves indefinitely while remaining accessible to future civilizations that developed sufficient sophistication to find and understand them. Recent analysis suggests that we may have reached that level of sophistication. The underground facilities aren't just revealing their secrets randomly, they're responding to investigation techniques that demonstrate sufficient technological and intellectual capability to handle the knowledge they contain. The ancient builders may have designed their archives as tests, revealing more advanced information only to civilizations that prove ready to use it responsibly. The implications are staggering. We're not just discovering ancient knowledge, we're potentially being evaluated by systems designed thousands of years ago to determine whether modern civilization is ready for capabilities that could transform human development. The underground builders may have left us a gift, but it's a gift that comes with responsibilities we're only beginning to understand. Dr. Marchetti's latest report captures the magnitude of what they're confronting. We began this investigation looking for evidence of ancient civilizations. Instead, we've discovered a message from the past, a comprehensive record of human capabilities that existed thousands of years ago, preserved for us to find when we developed sufficient wisdom to use it properly. We're not just studying ancient history anymore. We're being offered a chance to learn from ancestors who may have been far wiser than we realized. The investigation continues, but the focus has shifted from simple discovery to careful understanding. The underground civilization left us more than just impressive engineering and advanced technology. They left us examples of how to develop and use advanced capabilities responsibly, how to organize knowledge for the benefit of all, and how to think about technological development as part of a larger framework of human wisdom and social responsibility. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia is revealing more than just ancient achievements. It's showing us possibilities for our own future development, guided by wisdom preserved across millennia, by people who understood that true advancement isn't just about what we can do, but about how we choose to do it. The revelations emerging from the deeper sections of the archive chambers have taken a turn that's leaving even the most experienced researchers questioning the fundamental nature of what they've discovered. Dr. Marchetti's team recently accessed what they're calling the technical synthesis chambers, facilities that appear to demonstrate something that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of ancient capabilities. Evidence of systematic scientific research and technological development that rivals modern methods. These aren't just storage areas for existing knowledge. The technical synthesis chambers show clear evidence of active experimentation, hypothesis testing, and iterative design improvement. Laboratory spaces equipped with ventilation systems that still function perfectly after millennia. Observation areas with optical arrangements that enhance visual examination of small objects and phenomena. Workshop facilities with tool storage systems and material preparation areas that suggest continuous technological refinement. Dr. Morrison has been studying what appears to be a complete materials testing facility. The chamber contains apparatus for evaluating stone strength, metal durability, and composite material properties through systematic loading tests and environmental exposure trials. The methodology is sophisticated, controlled conditions, reproducible procedures, documented results that feed into design improvements. This isn't primitive trial and error, This is systematic engineering research that follows principles we associate with modern scientific method. But here's what's truly extraordinary. The testing facility isn't just evaluating materials randomly. The experiments appear to be focused on solving specific engineering challenges related to underground construction. Stress analysis for large span supports. Durability testing for water management components. Structural integrity evaluation for chambers subjected to seismic activity. The underground builders were conducting targeted research to solve problems they encountered in their own construction projects. The documentation methods are equally impressive. Results are recorded not just as observations, but as data sets that can be analyzed for patterns and trends. Variables are controlled and isolated to determine causation rather than just correlation. Multiple trials are conducted to verify consistency. The approach demonstrates understanding of experimental design principles that we didn't think existed until much later in human development. Dr. Chen has been analyzing what appears to be a complete design development facility, where the underground builders refined their architectural and engineering approaches through iterative testing and improvement. Scale models, prototype components, and systematic variation testing show that they weren't just building according to established patterns. They were actively innovating and optimizing their methods. The innovation process is methodical and sophisticated. Basic concepts are tested in simplified forms, then gradually refined through multiple iterations. Performance is evaluated against specific criteria. Improvements are incorporated into subsequent versions. Failed approaches are documented and analyzed to understand why they didn't work. It's a development methodology that modern engineering firms would recognize and respect. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected what appear to be power generation facilities deep within the technical synthesis chambers. The readings suggest complex mechanical assemblies that may have provided energy for lighting, ventilation, and possibly even powered tools and equipment. The implications are staggering. We're looking at evidence of energy systems that operated thousands of years before known electrical technology. Dr. Al-Rashid has been working with a team of electrical engineers to analyze the power distribution infrastructure still visible throughout the underground network. Cable conduits carved into stone walls. Junction boxes built into chamber intersections. Even what appear to be switching mechanisms that could control power flow to different areas. The sophistication suggests understanding of electrical principles that our timeline says didn't exist in the ancient world. The power generation systems themselves remain largely inaccessible, buried too deep for current excavation techniques to reach safely. But the distribution infrastructure that's visible demonstrates engineering principles that are sound according to modern electrical theory. Load balancing across multiple circuits, redundant pathways to ensure reliable power delivery, even safety features that appear designed to prevent overload conditions. Dr. Hoffman's linguistic team has made breakthrough progress in translating technical documentation from the synthesis chambers. The ancient builders maintained detailed records of their experimental procedures, their results, their design iterations, and their theoretical understanding of the principles they were applying. But these aren't just technical manuals. They're scientific papers that demonstrate systematic approaches to knowledge development. The documentation includes what can only be described as peer review processes. Multiple researchers would evaluate experimental procedures and results before accepting conclusions. Alternative explanations would be proposed and tested. Conflicting results would be reconciled through additional experimentation. The underground civilization had developed institutional methods for ensuring the reliability and validity of their scientific knowledge. But perhaps most remarkable is the evidence of collaborative research networks. The technical synthesis chambers weren't isolated facilities. They were connected to similar research centers throughout the underground network. Information sharing systems enabled researchers at different locations to build on each other's work, avoiding duplication of effort and accelerating the pace of discovery and development. The collaboration extended beyond just sharing results. Researchers would be assigned to different facilities based on their specializations and interests. Joint projects would involve teams from multiple locations working on different aspects of complex problems. Resource sharing would enable expensive or difficult experiments to be conducted at specialized facilities that served the entire network. Recent analysis of the collaborative documentation has revealed something that's forcing researchers to reconsider the scale and sophistication of the underground civilization. The research network wasn't limited to the Mesopotamian region. It included facilities across vast geographical areas, possibly extending throughout much of the ancient Middle East and beyond. Communication systems enabled coordination across distances that would have been challenging even for modern organizations. Standardized documentation methods ensured that research results could be understood and utilized by colleagues hundreds of miles away. Quality control procedures maintained consistency in experimental methods and data collection across the entire network. The organizational sophistication required for this level of coordination is staggering. Project management systems that allocated resources and personnel across multiple sites. Administrative structures that maintained oversight without stifling innovation. Communication protocols that ensured important discoveries were shared while preventing information overload. Dr. Marchetti has been studying what appears to be a comprehensive research management system that coordinated scientific and technological development across the entire underground civilization. Priority setting mechanisms that focused effort on the most important problems. Resource allocation systems that ensured adequate support for promising research directions. Performance evaluation methods that rewarded significant contributions while maintaining collaborative spirit. The management approach is sophisticated and nuanced. Individual achievement is recognized and rewarded, but within a framework that emphasizes collective advancement. Competition exists, but it's structured to drive innovation rather than create destructive conflict. Knowledge sharing is incentivized through systems that ensure contributors receive appropriate recognition for their work. Recent discoveries have revealed specialized research facilities that focus on what can only be described as early theoretical science. Chambers dedicated to mathematical research where abstract principles are developed and refined. Observational facilities where natural phenomena are studied systematically. Analysis centers where data from multiple sources is integrated to develop comprehensive understanding. The theoretical research isn't just academic exercise. It's clearly connected to practical applications. Mathematical principles developed in abstract form are then applied to engineering problems. Observational studies of natural phenomena inform technological development. Theoretical understanding guides experimental design and interpretation of results. Dr. Chen has been analyzing what appears to be a complete knowledge integration system that connects theoretical research to practical applications. The underground builders understood that advancing technology requires both fundamental understanding and practical implementation, and they developed institutional methods for ensuring that theoretical insights translate into useful innovations. The integration process is systematic and comprehensive. Theoretical researchers work closely with practical engineers to ensure that abstract principles can be implemented effectively. Experimental results feed back into theoretical development to refine and improve fundamental understanding. Application experiences inform both theoretical research and experimental methodology, but perhaps the most significant discovery came when Dr. Morrison's team accessed what they're calling the Advanced Concepts Facility, a research center that appears to have been working on technological developments that we're still struggling to achieve today. The facility contains evidence of research into energy storage, materials synthesis, and what can only be described as early automation systems. The energy storage research is particularly remarkable. The underground builders appear to have developed methods for storing large amounts of energy in compact, stable forms using principles that modern battery technology is still working to achieve. Chemical analysis of residual materials suggests energy densities that would be impressive even by contemporary standards. The material synthesis research shows evidence of controlled manipulation of material properties through techniques that seem to anticipate modern materials science. Composite materials with precisely engineered characteristics. Metal alloys with properties optimized for specific applications. Even what appear to be early ceramic technologies that produce materials with remarkable strength and durability. The automation systems are perhaps most intriguing of all. Mechanical devices that appear capable of performing complex tasks with minimal human supervision. Control mechanisms that can coordinate multiple automated processes. Even what might be early examples of feedback control systems that adjust operations based on changing conditions. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that the Advanced Concepts Facility represents the culmination of the underground civilization's technological development. The research being conducted there appears to have been at the cutting edge of what was possible given their resource and knowledge base. Some projects appear to have succeeded brilliantly, while others seem to have encountered fundamental limitations that prevented completion. The incomplete projects are particularly fascinating because they reveal the boundaries of ancient technological capability. Research directions that were promising but couldn't be fully realized with available resources. Theoretical understanding that was sound but couldn't be implemented effectively with existing materials and techniques. Ambitious goals that pushed against fundamental physical constraints. But even the failed projects demonstrate remarkable sophistication in research methodology. Systematic exploration of alternatives when initial approaches didn't work. Careful documentation of failure modes and limiting factors. Strategic decisions to abandon unproductive research directions in favor of more promising alternatives. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected what appear to be prototype installations throughout the Advanced Concepts Facility, test implementations of technologies that were being developed and refined. Some appear to have been successful and may have been deployed elsewhere in the network. Others show evidence of having been partially dismantled, possibly because they didn't perform as expected. The prototype development process reveals systematic approaches to technology validation that mirror modern engineering practices. Small-scale testing to verify basic functionality, intermediate implementations to evaluate performance under realistic conditions, full-scale installations only after thorough validation of design and performance. Dr. Hoffman's team has been translating documentation that appears to describe the underground civilization's long-term research strategy. The ancient builders weren't just solving immediate problems. They were conducting strategic research aimed at advancing their overall technological capabilities. Investment in fundamental research that might not pay off for generations. Exploration of speculative concepts that could lead to breakthrough innovations. The strategic approach demonstrates remarkable foresight and patience. Recognition that some research directions require sustained effort over long periods before yielding useful results. Willingness to invest resources in high-risk, high-reward projects that might fail but could produce transformational capabilities if successful. Institutional commitment to maintaining research programs across multiple generations of researchers. But the documentation also reveals something troubling. The advanced research programs appear to have been curtailed or abandoned before reaching completion. Projects that were showing promising results were terminated. Facilities that were producing valuable innovations were sealed or dismantled. The underground civilization appears to have deliberately ended their most advanced technological development efforts. The reasons for this decision aren't entirely clear from the available records, but the implications are profound. Either the underground builders encountered fundamental limitations that made further advancement impossible or impractical, or they made conscious decisions to limit their technological development for reasons related to safety, sustainability, or social responsibility. Dr. Marchetti's latest analysis suggests that the decision to curtail advanced research may have been related to the underground civilization's eventual withdrawal from active presence in the region, as they prepared to seal their facilities and preserve their knowledge for future discovery. They may have decided that some technologies were too dangerous or disruptive to leave accessible without proper supervision. The implications extend far beyond archaeological curiosity. We're looking at evidence of an ancient civilization that achieved technological capabilities comparable to or exceeding our own, but then made deliberate decisions about how those capabilities should be developed and used. Their research methodology, their institutional approaches to knowledge development, and their strategic thinking about technology could inform modern approaches to scientific research and technological advancement. But perhaps most importantly, the underground civilization appears to have grappled with questions about the relationship between technological capability and social responsibility that we're still struggling with today. Their decisions about which research to pursue, which technologies to develop, and which capabilities to preserve or restrict demonstrate sophisticated thinking about the broader implications of advanced knowledge. The technical synthesis chambers and advanced concepts facility aren't just revealing ancient achievements. They're providing examples of how advanced civilizations can approach scientific research and technological development in ways that serve the common good, while avoiding potential dangers. The underground builders may have left us more than just impressive artifacts and engineering marvels. They may have left us wisdom about how to handle the responsibilities that come with advanced capabilities. Dr. Morrison recently summarized the implications. We began this investigation expecting to find evidence of ancient engineering capabilities. Instead, we've discovered a complete model for how advanced civilizations can approach scientific research, technological development, and the responsible application of knowledge. The underground builders weren't just accomplished engineers and researchers. They were thoughtful stewards of human advancement who understood that true progress requires wisdom as well as capability. The investigation continues to reveal new aspects of the underground civilization's sophistication, but the focus is increasingly shifting from simple discovery to careful consideration of the lessons their achievements might offer for our own technological and social development. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia isn't just showing us what our ancestors accomplished, it's challenging us to think more deeply about how we approach our own advancement and the responsibilities that come with the knowledge and capabilities we're developing. As the research progresses, it's becoming clear that the underground civilization may have achieved something that modern society is still struggling with. The integration of advanced technological capability with sophisticated ethical frameworks for ensuring that knowledge serves humanity's long-term interests rather than just immediate desires for power or profit. Their example suggests possibilities for our own future that go far beyond simple technological advancement, to encompass wisdom about how advanced capabilities can be developed and used responsibly. But as the investigation into the Advanced Concepts Facility continues, Dr. Marchetti's team has encountered something that defies every rational explanation they've developed so far. Deep within the most restricted sections of the research complex, they've discovered what can only be described as manufacturing facilities that appear to operate on principles that our current understanding of physics simply cannot account for. The manufacturing chambers contain apparatus that shows no recognizable power source, yet electromagnetic readings indicate they were once active. Tool assemblies that demonstrate precision beyond anything achievable with known ancient metallurgy. Work surfaces that show microscopic evidence of material manipulation at scales that shouldn't have been possible without electron microscopes and nanotechnology. We're looking at evidence of manufacturing capabilities that seem to anticipate technologies we're only developing today. Dr. Chen has been analyzing production line layouts that optimize workflow in ways that mirror modern automated manufacturing principles. But these aren't just efficient arrangements of manual workstations. The chambers show evidence of mechanical systems that could move materials between processing stages, quality control checkpoints that evaluated products according to precise specifications, and inventory management systems that tracked raw materials and finished goods with remarkable accuracy. The quality control systems are particularly baffling. Inspection stations equipped with optical arrangements that could detect microscopic flaws in manufactured items. measurement devices that achieved precision levels that challenge modern instrumentation capabilities, testing apparatus that evaluated product performance under controlled conditions before items were approved for use or distribution. But it's not just the precision that's remarkable, it's the integration. The entire manufacturing process appears to have been designed as a coordinated system, where each stage feeds seamlessly into the next. Raw materials enter at one end, progress through multiple processing stages, undergo quality evaluation, and emerge as finished products ready for distribution throughout the underground network. Recent analysis of residual materials in the manufacturing chambers has revealed something even more perplexing. Chemical signatures that suggest the underground builders were producing synthetic materials, compounds that don't occur naturally, but were created through controlled chemical processes. The sophistication of these synthetic materials rivals contemporary chemical engineering achievements. Dr. Morrison has been studying what appears to be a metallurgical facility that produced metal alloys with properties that shouldn't be achievable through ancient smelting techniques. Strength-to-weight ratios that exceed modern structural steel. Corrosion resistance that has preserved samples perfectly for thousands of years. Thermal properties that suggest applications in high-temperature environments that would challenge contemporary materials. The metallurgical processes appear to have operated at temperatures and pressures that ancient furnaces shouldn't have been able to achieve. Yet the evidence is undeniable. The manufacturing chambers contain clear documentation of smelting operations that produce materials with precisely controlled compositions and properties. The ancient builders somehow developed thermal management techniques that enabled them to manipulate metals in ways that modern metallurgy is still working to understand. But perhaps most unsettling is the evidence of what appears to be biological manufacturing. Chambers equipped with environmental control systems that maintain specific temperature, humidity, and atmospheric conditions suitable for biological processes. Cultivation areas that show evidence of systematic growth and harvesting of organic materials. Processing facilities that appear to have refined biological products into materials used throughout the underground network. Dr. Al-Rashid has been working with biochemists to analyze residual organic compounds found in these biological manufacturing areas. The chemical signatures suggest that the underground builders were cultivating and processing biological materials to produce everything from construction adhesives to preservation compounds to what might have been early pharmaceuticals. The biological manufacturing capabilities raise profound questions about the underground civilization's understanding of life sciences. They appear to have developed systematic approaches to biological cultivation that enabled them to produce specific organic compounds on demand. This wasn't simple agriculture, it was controlled biological manufacturing that demonstrates understanding of biochemistry that we associate with much later periods of scientific development. The integration between biological and mechanical manufacturing is equally impressive. Biological products were apparently used as components in mechanical assemblies. Organic compounds were incorporated into metallurgical processes to modify material properties. Even construction materials show evidence of biological components that enhanced strength, durability, or other performance characteristics. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected what appear to be quality assurance facilities that tested products from all manufacturing areas before they were approved for use. The testing procedures were comprehensive and systematic. Performance evaluation under various conditions, durability assessment through accelerated aging processes, compatibility verification with other system components. The quality assurance approach demonstrates understanding of reliability engineering principles that ensure products will perform as expected over their intended service life. Statistical sampling methods to evaluate production consistency. Failure analysis, procedures to identify and correct manufacturing defects. Continuous improvement processes that refined manufacturing techniques based on performance feedback. Dr. Hoffman's linguistic team has been translating manufacturing documentation that reveals something extraordinary about the underground civilization's approach to production. They didn't just manufacture products, They designed complete systems where individual components were optimized to work together seamlessly. This wasn't mass production of standardized items. This was integrated systems engineering that produced customized solutions for specific applications. The systems approach extended to resource management as well. Raw materials were allocated across manufacturing facilities to optimize overall network performance rather than just individual facility output. Production scheduling coordinated activities across multiple sites to ensure that interdependent products were available when and where they were needed. Waste management systems recycled materials and byproducts to minimize resource consumption. But the manufacturing capabilities weren't just impressive for their technical sophistication. They were remarkable for their sustainability. The underground builders appear to have developed closed-loop production systems that minimized waste and maximized resource utilization. Byproducts from one manufacturing process became raw materials for others. Recycling systems recovered and reprocessed materials from obsolete or damaged products. Dr. Chen has been analyzing what appears to be a complete circular economy that operated throughout the underground network. Resource flows were managed to minimize extraction of new materials while maximizing the useful life of everything that entered the system. Product design emphasized durability and repairability rather than planned obsolescence. Manufacturing processes were optimized for efficiency and minimal environmental impact. The sustainability approach wasn't just environmentally conscious, it was strategically necessary. The underground civilization operated in a closed system with limited access to external resources. Their survival depended on making optimal use of available materials and minimizing waste that could accumulate in their confined environment. They developed manufacturing approaches that modern industry is still struggling to achieve. Recent discoveries have revealed distribution systems that moved manufactured products throughout the underground network according to demand rather than just production capacity. Inventory management systems that tracked usage patterns and adjusted production schedules accordingly. Transportation networks that delivered products efficiently while minimizing energy consumption and system disruption. The distribution efficiency is remarkable. Products were manufactured where resources and capabilities were optimal, then distributed to where they were needed most. Specialized facilities produced items for the entire network, rather than each location trying to manufacture everything locally. Transportation systems moved goods efficiently while serving multiple routes and purposes simultaneously. Dr. Morrison has been studying what appears to be a maintenance and repair network that kept manufactured products functioning throughout their service life. Diagnostic systems that identified performance degradation before failures occurred. Repair facilities that could restore damaged items to original specifications. Upgrade programs that enhanced older products with improved capabilities developed through ongoing research. The maintenance approach demonstrates understanding of life cycle management principles that maximize the value derived from manufactured products. Preventive maintenance programs that extend service life. Standardized repair procedures that ensure consistent quality. Component replacement systems that allow for selective upgrading without complete product replacement. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the manufacturing network is evidence of continuous innovation. Research and development facilities that refined manufacturing processes and developed new products. Prototype production systems that tested new designs before full implementation. Feedback mechanisms that incorporated user experience into product improvement cycles. The innovation process was systematic and strategic. Basic research informed applied development efforts. Experimental manufacturing validated new processes and techniques. Market feedback guided refinement and optimization of production systems. The underground builders had created an integrated innovation ecosystem that continuously improved their manufacturing capabilities. Recent analysis of the innovation documentation reveals that the underground civilization wasn't just solving immediate manufacturing challenges, they were investing in long-term technological development that would enhance their capabilities over time. Strategic research programs that explored new materials and processes. experimental facilities that tested speculative concepts, collaborative networks that shared innovations across the entire underground system. The strategic approach to manufacturing development demonstrates remarkable foresight and institutional sophistication. Recognition that manufacturing capabilities are foundational to civilizational advancement. Investment in research and development that might not yield immediate benefits but could transform long-term capabilities. Institutional commitment to continuous improvement across multiple generations. Dr. Marchetti has been analyzing what appears to be a comprehensive manufacturing strategy that coordinated production capabilities across the entire underground network. Resource allocation systems that optimize the use of available materials and energy. Capacity planning that ensured adequate production capability for essential products. Technology development programs that advanced manufacturing capabilities in strategically important areas. The strategic coordination required sophisticated planning and communication systems that operated across vast geographical areas. Standardized procedures that ensured compatibility between facilities. Performance monitoring systems that tracked efficiency and quality across the entire network. Resource-sharing mechanisms that optimized utilization of specialized capabilities and expensive equipment. But the manufacturing documentation also reveals something troubling that mirrors what researchers found in the Advanced Concepts facility. Production capabilities that were deliberately scaled back or discontinued. Manufacturing lines that were dismantled despite showing excellent performance. Research programs that were terminated even though they were producing valuable innovations. The reasons for these decisions aren't entirely clear, but they appear to be related to the underground civilization's eventual withdrawal from active presence. As they prepared to preserve their knowledge for future discovery, they may have decided that some manufacturing capabilities were too dangerous or resource-intensive to leave operational without proper supervision. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that the manufacturing limitations may also have been related to sustainability concerns. As the underground civilization matured, they may have recognized that unlimited production growth was incompatible with their closed system environment. Their decisions to constrain manufacturing capabilities may have reflected sophisticated understanding of resource limits and environmental carrying capacity. The implications of the manufacturing discoveries extend far beyond archaeological curiosity. We're looking at evidence of production systems that achieved levels of efficiency, sustainability, and innovation that modern manufacturing is still working to attain. Their approaches to integrated systems design, circular economy principles, and continuous innovation could inform contemporary industrial development. But perhaps most importantly, the underground civilization appears to have grappled with fundamental questions about the relationship between manufacturing capability and social responsibility. Their decisions about what to produce, how to produce it, and when to limit production demonstrate sophisticated thinking about the broader implications of industrial development. Dr. Hoffman recently summarized the significance. The manufacturing capabilities we've discovered aren't just evidence of ancient technological achievement. They're examples of how advanced civilizations can approach production in ways that serve long-term sustainability while meeting immediate needs. The underground builders developed manufacturing systems that were both highly capable and carefully constrained, showing us possibilities for industrial development that goes beyond simple growth to encompass wisdom about resource use and environmental impact. The investigation into the manufacturing facilities continues to reveal new aspects of the underground civilization's sophisticated approach to production and resource management. Each discovery adds to the picture of a society that achieved remarkable technological capabilities while maintaining careful attention to sustainability and social responsibility. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia isn't just showing us what our ancestors accomplished. It's providing examples of how advanced manufacturing can be developed and managed in ways that serve humanity's long-term interests. As Dr. Chen put it in her latest report, We're not just studying ancient manufacturing techniques. We're discovering a complete model for how industrial civilization can develop in harmony with resource constraints and environmental considerations. The underground builders may have left us more than just impressive artifacts. They may have left us a blueprint for sustainable industrial development that we're only beginning to understand. The manufacturing discoveries are forcing researchers to reconsider fundamental assumptions about industrial development, technological progress, and the relationship between production capabilities and civilizational sustainability. The evidence suggests that advanced manufacturing doesn't have to be environmentally destructive or socially disruptive if it's approached with sufficient wisdom and long-term thinking. The underground civilization appears to have achieved something that modern industrial society is still struggling with: the integration of advanced manufacturing capabilities with sophisticated frameworks for ensuring that production serves broader social and environmental goals rather than just immediate economic interests. Their example suggests possibilities for our own industrial development that go far beyond current approaches to encompass truly sustainable and socially responsible manufacturing. But as remarkable as these manufacturing discoveries are, they represent only one aspect of what appears to be a comprehensively advanced civilization that operated according to principles we're still working to understand. The deeper the investigation goes, the more it becomes clear that every assumption about ancient capabilities, about technological development, about human advancement itself, may need fundamental reconsideration based on what lies buried beneath the sands of Mesopotamia. The political ramifications of these discoveries have reached a tipping point that no one anticipated. What started as an archaeological investigation has evolved into something that's challenging the very foundations of how we understand human development, technological progress, and the relationship between ancient and modern civilization. Governments across the region are now treating the underground network not just as a historical site, but as a potential source of technological knowledge that could reshape contemporary industry, science, and society. The Iraqi Ministry of Antiquities has imposed increasingly strict access controls, limiting international research teams to carefully supervised visits lasting no more than a few hours at a time. Dr. Marchetti's team, which once had relatively free access to conduct their investigations, now finds their work constrained by bureaucratic procedures that can delay critical research for weeks or months. The frustration among researchers is palpable, but the concerns of government officials are understandable, given the implications of what's being uncovered. Regional governments are beginning to recognize that the underground network extends far beyond Iraqi borders, raising complex questions about jurisdiction, research rights, and control over discoveries that could have global significance. Turkey has begun conducting its own surveys of sites where ground-penetrating radar suggests similar underground complexes. Iran has restricted access to archaeological sites, pending government review of potential connections to the Mesopotamian discoveries. Syria, despite ongoing political challenges, has established a special commission to investigate reports of underground anomalies near ancient sites. The international legal framework for handling discoveries of this magnitude simply doesn't exist. UNESCO's World Heritage designation provides some protection, but it doesn't address questions about intellectual property rights for ancient technologies, access to potentially valuable scientific knowledge, or the responsibilities that come with discoveries that could affect global development. Legal scholars are scrambling to develop frameworks for managing archaeological finds that blur the line between historical artifacts and potentially functional technologies. Dr. Chen has been working with international policy experts to develop protocols for responsible research and knowledge sharing, but the complexity of the issues makes progress slow and contentious. Who owns ancient knowledge? How should discoveries that could benefit humanity be balanced against legitimate national sovereignty concerns? What safeguards are needed to prevent misuse of powerful technologies that we don't fully understand? These aren't just academic questions anymore. They're urgent policy challenges that require immediate attention. The scientific community is divided on how to proceed. Conservative researchers argue for extreme caution, suggesting that some discoveries might be too dangerous or disruptive to pursue without extensive safety protocols and international oversight. Progressive researchers counter that withholding potentially beneficial knowledge could deprive humanity of solutions to critical, contemporary challenges like sustainable energy, environmental protection, and resource management. Private corporations have begun approaching research teams and government officials about potential commercial applications of the ancient technologies. Energy companies are interested in the power generation systems. Materials manufacturers want to understand the advanced metallurgy techniques. Technology firms are exploring applications of the information storage and management principles. The commercialization pressures are creating additional complications for research that was originally intended to be purely academic. Dr. Morrison recently expressed concerns about the direction the investigation is taking. In his view, the focus is shifting too quickly from understanding what the underground civilization achieved to exploiting their discoveries for contemporary gain. He argues that we need to spend more time learning from their approaches to technological development, their integration of capability with responsibility, their sophisticated thinking about sustainability and social impact, before we rush to implement their specific techniques. The underground civilization's own documentation suggests they would have shared similar concerns. Records from the archive chambers indicate that they were extremely careful about how they shared knowledge, even within their own society. Advanced technologies were restricted to individuals who had demonstrated not just technical competence, but ethical sophistication. Research programs included extensive consideration of potential consequences and safeguards against misuse. Dr. Hoffman's translation work has revealed something particularly relevant to current debates. The underground builders appear to have developed comprehensive ethical frameworks for technological development that considered not just immediate benefits, but long-term implications for their society and environment. They understood that advanced capabilities bring responsibilities, and they created institutional mechanisms to ensure that knowledge was developed and used wisely. The ethical frameworks aren't just philosophical abstractions. They're practical systems that guided decision-making about research priorities, technology development, and knowledge sharing. Risk assessment procedures that evaluated potential negative consequences alongside expected benefits. Review processes that required multiple perspectives before approving new research directions. Implementation protocols that included monitoring and adjustment mechanisms to address unforeseen problems. Recent analysis suggests that the underground civilization's eventual withdrawal may have been motivated in part by recognition that their technological capabilities had reached levels that required careful management to prevent potential harm. Their decision to seal their facilities and preserve their knowledge for future discovery may have reflected sophisticated understanding of the responsibilities that come with advanced capabilities. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that the underground civilization's example offers important guidance for how modern society should approach the discoveries being made beneath Mesopotamia. Their careful balance between capability and responsibility, their integration of technical knowledge with ethical frameworks, their long-term thinking about consequences and sustainability, all provide models for how we might proceed with research and development based on their achievements. But implementing such approaches in the contemporary world presents challenges that the underground civilization didn't face. They operated within a relatively unified culture with shared values and common goals. Modern society is fragmented across national boundaries, cultural differences, economic systems, and political structures that make coordinated decision-making extremely difficult. The discoveries are also raising questions about the pace of technological development that go far beyond the specific ancient technologies being uncovered. If the underground civilization achieved advanced capabilities thousands of years ago, maintained them for millennia, then deliberately constrained or abandoned them, what does that suggest about optimal approaches to technological progress? Should development be faster, slower, more careful, more strategic than our current approaches? Dr. Marchetti has been grappling with these broader implications as the investigation continues. The evidence suggests that the underground civilization achieved a level of technological sophistication that was sustainable over extremely long time periods, integrated with sophisticated social and ethical systems, and carefully managed to prevent potential negative consequences. Their approach appears to have been more strategic, more thoughtful, more sustainable than contemporary technological development. The manufacturing capabilities alone demonstrate approaches to industrial development that could revolutionize modern production if implemented carefully. Circular economy principles that minimize waste and maximize resource utilization. Quality and durability standards that extend product life cycles. Innovation systems that balance continuous improvement with stability and sustainability. These aren't just ancient techniques, they're potentially transformative approaches to contemporary challenges. The information management systems being discovered could similarly revolutionize how modern society organizes and preserves knowledge. Three-dimensional encoding that dramatically increases storage density. Classification systems that optimize information retrieval. Collaborative research networks that accelerate discovery while maintaining quality control. Error correction mechanisms that preserve accuracy across long time periods. The energy systems, though not yet fully understood, appear to demonstrate principles that could advance sustainable power generation significantly. The water management technologies could improve infrastructure efficiency and environmental impact. The construction techniques could enhance building durability while reducing resource consumption. Even the organizational and administrative systems could inform better approaches to large-scale project management and institutional coordination. But each potential application raises questions about implementation that require careful consideration. How can ancient principles be adapted to contemporary contexts? What safeguards are needed to prevent misuse or unintended consequences? How can benefits be shared equitably rather than concentrated among those with resources to exploit new capabilities? How can development proceed at a pace that allows for adequate testing and refinement? Recent discussions among international research teams have focused on developing collaborative frameworks that could address these challenges while advancing beneficial applications of the discoveries. Shared research programs that pool resources and expertise across national boundaries. Open source approaches that make beneficial technologies available to all rather than restricted to those who can afford them. International oversight mechanisms that ensure responsible development and application. The underground civilization's own approach to knowledge sharing provides guidance for such efforts. Their network operated across vast geographical areas, but maintained unified standards and shared goals. They developed technologies for the benefit of their entire society, rather than for individual or group advantage. They created systems that balanced innovation with stability, progress with sustainability, capability with responsibility. Dr. Chen has been working with international organizations to develop similar frameworks for managing the contemporary implications of the Mesopotamian discoveries. The challenges are complex, but the potential benefits of getting it right are enormous. If modern society can learn from the underground civilization's approaches to technological development, we might be able to achieve advances that serve humanity's long-term interests, rather than just immediate desires. The investigation itself has become a model for international scientific collaboration, despite the political complications. Researchers from dozens of countries are working together to understand discoveries that transcend national boundaries and cultural differences. The shared commitment to advancing human knowledge has enabled cooperation that bridges political and economic divisions that often prevent such coordination. The collaborative approach has also enabled more comprehensive analysis than any single national research program could achieve. Specialists in fields ranging from archaeology and engineering to linguistics and ethics are contributing perspectives that no individual discipline could provide alone. The interdisciplinary cooperation is revealing connections and implications that would have been missed by narrower approaches. But the collaborative model faces ongoing challenges from political pressures, commercial interests, and institutional limitations that constrain research and slow progress. Funding restrictions that limit international participation. Access controls that prevent researchers from spending adequate time with the discoveries. Competitive pressures that encourage secrecy rather than open sharing of results and insights. Dr. Marchetti has been advocating for expanded international cooperation that could address these limitations while respecting legitimate governmental concerns. Formal agreements that establish shared research protocols and equitable benefit sharing. International funding mechanisms that support collaborative investigation regardless of national boundaries. Open publication requirements that ensure discoveries benefit global knowledge rather than remaining restricted to limited audiences. The underground civilization's documentation suggests they would have supported such approaches. Their research networks operated according to principles that prioritized collective advancement over individual or group advantage. They shared knowledge freely within their society while maintaining appropriate safeguards against misuse. They developed technologies for common benefit rather than private gain. Recent analysis of their organizational documents reveals sophisticated approaches to balancing individual recognition with collective advancement. Researchers received credit for their contributions while being expected to share knowledge that could benefit others. Competition was structured to drive innovation while maintaining collaborative relationships. Resource allocations supported both individual projects and shared infrastructure that benefited everyone. The ethical frameworks that guided their technological development appear to have been similarly sophisticated. Recognition that advanced capabilities bring responsibilities to use them wisely. Understanding that short-term benefits must be balanced against long-term consequences. Appreciation that individual or group advantage must be weighed against broader social and environmental impacts. These principles remain relevant to contemporary debates about how to handle the discoveries being made beneath Mesopotamia. The ancient technologies being uncovered could provide significant benefits if developed and applied responsibly, but they could also cause harm if implemented carelessly or exploited for narrow advantage rather than common good. The underground civilization appears to have grappled with similar challenges and developed approaches that enabled them to maintain advanced capabilities over thousands of years while avoiding the negative consequences that often accompany rapid technological development. Their example suggests that it's possible to achieve remarkable progress while maintaining careful attention to sustainability, social responsibility, and long-term thinking. Dr. Al-Rashid recently summarized the broader significance of what they're discovering. We're not just uncovering ancient technologies, we're finding evidence of how advanced civilizations can develop and manage sophisticated capabilities in ways that serve long-term human flourishing rather than just immediate desires. The underground builders may have left us more than impressive artifacts. They may have left us wisdom about how to approach our own technological development more thoughtfully and responsibly. The investigation continues, but the focus is increasingly shifting from simple discovery to careful consideration of implications. Each new chamber that's accessed, each additional technology that's uncovered, each piece of documentation that's translated, adds to the picture of a civilization that achieved remarkable capabilities while maintaining sophisticated frameworks for ensuring those capabilities served beneficial purposes. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia isn't just revealing what our ancestors accomplished. It's challenging us to think more deeply about how we approach our own advancement and the responsibilities that come with the knowledge and capabilities we're developing. The discoveries suggest possibilities for human development that go far beyond current approaches to encompass wisdom about how advanced capabilities can be developed and used to serve humanity's long-term interests. As the research progresses, it's becoming clear that the underground civilization may offer more than just technological innovations. They may provide examples of how human society can advance in ways that integrate capability with responsibility, progress with sustainability, innovation with wisdom. Their legacy suggests that true advancement isn't just about what we can achieve, but about how we choose to use what we achieve for the benefit of all. The deeper implications of these discoveries continue to unfold as researchers gain access to previously sealed sections of the underground network. Dr. Marchetti's team recently breached what they're calling the Final Archive, a chamber complex that appears to contain the underground civilization's most sensitive and carefully protected information. But what they've found there is forcing them to confront possibilities that challenge not just archaeological understanding, but fundamental assumptions about the nature of human development and the relationship between ancient and modern civilization. The Final Archive isn't just another repository of technical knowledge or historical records. It appears to contain what can only be described as a comprehensive analysis of civilizational development, systematic studies of how societies advance, what factors contribute to progress or decline, and what patterns characterize sustainable versus unsustainable development trajectories. The underground builders weren't just creating and preserving their own achievements. They were studying the broader principles that govern human advancement. Dr. Hoffman's linguistic team has been working around the clock to translate documents that appear to represent thousands of years of accumulated wisdom about civilizational development. The analysis covers everything from optimal population densities and resource management strategies to social organization principles and approaches to technological development that maximize benefits while minimizing risks. But perhaps most remarkably, the Final Archive contains what appears to be predictive analysis, systematic projections of how different developmental approaches are likely to affect long-term civilizational sustainability. The underground builders seem to have developed sophisticated models that could forecast the probable consequences of various technological, social, and environmental choices over timescales spanning millennia. The predictive accuracy of these models is unsettling. Analysis of their projections about surface civilizations shows remarkable correspondence with actual historical developments. Their predictions about the rise and fall of empires, the consequences of specific technological developments, and the long-term effects of various social and economic systems align closely with what we now know actually occurred. Dr. Chen has been studying what appears to be comprehensive urban planning analysis that addresses optimal approaches to city development under different environmental and resource constraints. The underground builders understood that different environments require different developmental strategies, and they developed frameworks for adapting civilizational approaches to local conditions while maintaining overall sustainability and social benefit. The urban planning principles go far beyond simple physical design to encompass social organization, economic systems, and governance structures that support long-term community flourishing. The underground builders understood that sustainable cities require integration of physical infrastructure with social systems that promote cooperation, innovation, and adaptability while preventing the concentration of power or resources that can lead to exploitation and instability. Recent analysis has revealed transportation planning principles that optimize movement of people and resources while minimizing environmental impact and social disruption. Communication system designs that facilitate coordination and knowledge sharing without creating information overload or surveillance concerns. Economic frameworks that encourage innovation and productivity while preventing extreme inequality or resource depletion. The integration of these various planning elements demonstrates systematic thinking about civilizational development that encompasses technical, social, environmental, and ethical considerations simultaneously. The underground builders weren't just solving individual problems. They were developing comprehensive approaches to human organization that could support sustainable advancement over extremely long time periods. Dr. Morrison has been analyzing what appears to be detailed case studies of failed civilizations, systematic examinations of societies that achieved significant advancement but then collapsed or declined. The analysis identifies common patterns that lead to civilizational failure: resource overexploitation, social inequality, technological development without adequate ethical frameworks, and governance systems that become disconnected from the needs of the broader population. The failure analysis isn't just historical documentation. Its systematic study aimed at understanding the underlying causes of civilizational decline so that future societies can avoid similar mistakes. The underground builders studied failure as carefully as they studied success, recognizing that understanding what doesn't work is as important as understanding what does work for achieving sustainable development. But the final archive also contains something even more extraordinary: what appears to be a comprehensive development plan for future civilizations. The underground builders weren't just preserving their own achievements for historical interest. They were creating a guide for future societies that could help them achieve sustainable advancement while avoiding the mistakes that have characterized previous developmental attempts. The development plan isn't prescriptive or rigid. It's adaptive and flexible, providing frameworks and principles rather than specific instructions. The underground builders understood that future civilizations would face different challenges and opportunities than they did, so they created guidance that could be applied across varying circumstances while maintaining focus on long-term sustainability and human flourishing. Dr. Al-Rashid has been studying what appears to be a complete educational curriculum designed to prepare future civilizations for responsible development. The curriculum covers technical knowledge, but it places equal emphasis on ethical reasoning, systems thinking, and long-term planning capabilities. The underground builders understood that sustainable advancement requires not just technical competence, but wisdom about how to use capabilities responsibly. The educational approach integrates practical skills with philosophical understanding, technical training with ethical development, individual achievement with social responsibility. Students would learn not just how to build or create, but how to evaluate the broader implications of what they build or create for their society and environment over extended time periods. Recent discoveries have revealed what appears to be a complete governance framework designed to prevent the concentration of power that leads to exploitation and instability. The system distributes authority across multiple institutions with overlapping responsibilities and mutual accountability. Decision-making processes require consideration of long-term consequences and broad social impact, not just immediate benefits to those in power. The governance principles emphasize transparency, participation, and continuous adaptation based on feedback and changing circumstances. Power structures are designed to serve the common good rather than individual or group interests. Leadership positions rotate to prevent the entrenchment of particular individuals or factions. Resource allocation follows principles of equity and sustainability rather than simple market forces or political influence. Dr. Hoffman's team has been translating what appears to be a comprehensive economic framework that balances individual initiative with social responsibility, innovation with stability, growth with sustainability. The system encourages creativity and productivity while preventing exploitation and resource depletion. Wealth creation is structured to benefit entire communities rather than concentrating among small groups. The economic principles integrate production with consumption, work with leisure, individual achievement with community welfare. Markets operate within ethical frameworks that prevent harmful competition while encouraging beneficial innovation. Resource use follows circular economy principles that minimize waste and maximize beneficial utilization over long time periods. But perhaps the most significant discovery in the final archive is what appears to be a complete framework for technological development that balances capability with responsibility, innovation with safety, progress with sustainability. The underground builders understood that technology is not neutral. It shapes society in profound ways that require careful consideration and thoughtful management. The technological development framework includes systematic approaches to evaluating potential consequences before implementing new capabilities. Risk assessment procedures that consider social, environmental, and ethical implications alongside technical feasibility and economic benefits. Implementation protocols that include monitoring and adjustment mechanisms to address unforeseen problems or negative consequences. The approach emphasizes developing technologies that enhance human capabilities while strengthening social bonds and environmental harmony rather than undermining them. Innovation is guided by principles of service to the common good rather than just individual advantage or profit maximization. Research priorities focus on addressing genuine human needs rather than creating artificial desires or dependencies. Recent electromagnetic surveys have detected what appears to be a final sealed chamber within the final archive that hasn't been accessed yet. Preliminary scans suggest it contains materials or artifacts that are somehow different from everything else they've discovered, possibly representing the underground civilization's most advanced achievements or their most carefully guarded knowledge. The decision about whether to open this final chamber is creating intense debate among researchers, government officials, and international organizations. Some argue that whatever it contains could provide crucial insights that would complete their understanding of the underground civilization and its achievements. Others worry that some knowledge might be too powerful or dangerous to access without adequate preparation and safeguards. Dr. Marchetti has been advocating for extreme caution in approaching the final chamber. The underground builders clearly considered whatever it contains to be their most sensitive information, requiring additional layers of protection beyond what they used for other knowledge. Their decision to seal it separately suggests they had serious concerns about making it accessible, even to future civilizations that achieved sufficient sophistication to find their archives. The debate reflects broader questions about the responsibilities that come with archaeological discovery. When does scientific curiosity need to be balanced against potential risks? How can researchers evaluate dangers they don't fully understand? What obligations do contemporary investigators have to respect the intentions of ancient peoples who deliberately sealed away certain knowledge? The underground civilization's own documentation provides some guidance for these questions. Their ethical frameworks emphasize careful consideration of consequences before taking actions that could have far-reaching effects. Their technological development principles stress the importance of understanding implications before implementing new capabilities. Their governance systems require broad consultation and consensus before making decisions that affect the entire community. Dr. Chen has been working with international organizations to develop protocols for approaching the final chamber that honor both scientific interest and responsible caution. The proposed approach would involve extensive preparation, broad consultation with experts from multiple fields, and careful consideration of potential consequences before any attempt to access whatever lies within. The protocols would also include mechanisms for managing whatever knowledge might be discovered, frameworks for ensuring that any insights gained would be used for beneficial purposes rather than exploitation or harm. The underground civilization's approach to knowledge sharing provides models for such frameworks. But adapting their principles to contemporary circumstances requires careful thought and broad cooperation. Recent analysis of the Final Archives organization suggests that the sealed chamber might contain not just additional knowledge, but guidance about how that knowledge should be used. The underground builders appear to have been extremely thoughtful about providing not just capabilities, but wisdom about how capabilities should be applied for maximum benefit and minimum harm. Dr. Al-Rashid has proposed that the final chamber might contain something like a completion of the development plan, found in the rest of the final archive, specific guidance for civilizations that have achieved sufficient advancement to handle the underground builders' most sophisticated achievements. If so, accessing it might require demonstrating not just technical capability, but ethical sophistication and social responsibility. The proposal raises intriguing questions about the underground civilization's intentions in preserving their knowledge. Did they expect future civilizations to gradually work through their archives, proving their readiness for increasingly advanced knowledge? Are the discoveries being made part of a systematic test designed to evaluate whether contemporary society is prepared for capabilities that could transform human development? The evidence suggests that the underground builders were extremely strategic in how they organized and preserved their achievements. Each level of the archive system requires greater sophistication to access and understand than the previous level. The progression from basic construction techniques to advanced manufacturing, from simple organization to comprehensive civilizational frameworks, suggests a deliberate educational sequence. Dr. Morrison has been analysing the overall structure of the underground network and archives, and he believes the entire system was designed as an integrated educational and developmental resource. The underground builders weren't just preserving their own achievements, they were creating a comprehensive curriculum for future civilizations that could guide sustainable advancement over thousands of years. If this interpretation is correct, then the discoveries being made beneath Mesopotamia represent more than just archaeological finds. They represent an inheritance from ancestors who achieved remarkable advancement and then deliberately preserved their achievements for future generations who might be wise enough to build upon them responsibly. The implications extend far beyond academic interest or even technological applications. The underground civilization appears to have left us a complete framework for approaching human development in ways that could achieve remarkable progress while avoiding the mistakes that have characterized previous civilizational attempts. Their legacy suggests possibilities for our own future that go far beyond current approaches to encompass wisdom about sustainable advancement and responsible use of advanced capabilities. Dr. Hoffman recently summarized the broader significance. We're not just discovering what our ancestors achieved, we're inheriting their wisdom about how human civilization can develop in ways that serve long-term flourishing rather than just immediate desires. The underground builders may have left us more than impressive artifacts or even advanced technologies. They may have left us a pathway to a future that integrates capability with responsibility, progress with sustainability, innovation with wisdom. The investigation continues, but the focus has clearly shifted from simple discovery to careful consideration of implications and responsibilities. The forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia isn't just revealing remarkable achievements, it's challenging contemporary civilization to think more deeply about how we approach our own development and the legacy we want to leave for future generations. As Dr. Marchetti put it in her latest report, we began this investigation looking for evidence of ancient civilizations. Instead, we've discovered that we are still in the process of becoming civilized, and our ancestors may have left us guidance for how to complete that process in ways that honor both human potential and human responsibility. The discoveries suggest that true advancement isn't just about what we can achieve, but about how we choose to use what we achieve in service of all humanity's long-term interests. The underground builders achieved remarkable capabilities, but their greatest achievement may have been their wisdom about how to develop and use those capabilities responsibly. That wisdom, preserved for thousands of years beneath the sands of Mesopotamia, may be their most valuable gift to the modern world. As we stand at this crossroads between ancient wisdom and modern ambition, the final sealed chamber beneath Mesopotamia remains unopened, waiting like a testament to human patience. Dr. Marchetti's team has made their decision. They will not breach that last sanctuary until humanity demonstrates it has learned from everything else the underground builders chose to share. The months following this decision have transformed the entire investigation. Instead of rushing toward the next discovery, researchers have begun the painstaking work of truly understanding what they've already found. The manufacturing principles are being tested in small-scale applications. The water management systems are inspiring sustainable infrastructure projects. The organizational frameworks are being studied by governments seeking more effective approaches to long-term planning. But perhaps the most profound change has been in how the research itself is conducted. Following the underground civilization's model of collaborative knowledge development, the investigation has become a truly international effort. Scientists from every continent are contributing their expertise, sharing resources, and working together in ways that transcend the political boundaries that usually constrain such cooperation. Dr. Chen recently established the Mesopotamian Institute for Sustainable Development, a research center dedicated to applying the ancient principles to contemporary challenges. The institute operates according to the ethical frameworks discovered in the archives. Every project must demonstrate benefit to the common good. Every innovation must be evaluated for long-term consequences. Every advancement must be shared openly rather than restricted for competitive advantage. The results have been remarkable. Urban planners are designing cities that follow the underground builders' principles of harmony between human needs and environmental sustainability. Engineers are developing infrastructure that mimics the durability and efficiency of the ancient systems. Economists are experimenting with resource allocation models that prioritize collective welfare over individual accumulation. Dr. Morrison has been working with a consortium of universities to develop educational curricula based on the underground civilization's approach to integrated learning. Students don't just study technical subjects. They learn to evaluate the ethical implications of their knowledge, to think in terms of systems rather than isolated problems, to consider the long-term consequences of their actions. The educational approach is already showing results. A new generation of researchers and developers is emerging. People who instinctively consider broader implications before pursuing narrow advantages, who seek collaboration rather than competition, who measure success by contribution to human flourishing rather than just personal achievement. But the most significant development may be the emergence of what researchers are calling the Mesopotamian protocols, international agreements for approaching technological development according to the principles discovered in the underground archives. These protocols require systematic evaluation of potential consequences, broad consultation before implementation, and ongoing monitoring to address unforeseen effects. The protocols aren't binding law, but they're becoming the accepted standard for responsible innovation. Companies that follow them gain international credibility and cooperation. Research institutions that adopt them attract the best collaborative partnerships. Governments that implement them find their citizens more supportive of development initiatives. Dr. Al-Rashid has been documenting how these changes are rippling through contemporary civilization. Resource conflicts are decreasing as societies adopt the underground builders' approaches to sustainable management. Social inequality is declining in regions that implement their organizational principles. Environmental degradation is slowing where their ecological frameworks are being applied. The transformation isn't happening everywhere at once, and it's not without resistance. Some groups argue that the ancient principles are too restrictive for modern competitive environments. Others worry that changing established systems too quickly could create instability. But the evidence from places where the principles are being implemented suggests that the underground builders understood something crucial about sustainable development that modern civilization is only beginning to grasp. Dr. Hoffman's translation work continues to reveal new layers of wisdom preserved in the archives. Recent analysis has uncovered detailed studies of how civilizations can transition from unsustainable to sustainable practices without catastrophic disruption. The underground builders faced similar challenges in their own development, and their solutions offer guidance for contemporary transition processes. The transition frameworks are sophisticated and practical. They recognize that change must be gradual enough to maintain stability while being comprehensive enough to address systemic problems. They provide specific strategies for overcoming resistance to beneficial changes, for managing resource reallocation during transition periods, for maintaining social cohesion while transforming social systems. As the investigation enters its third year, the focus has shifted entirely from discovering new chambers to implementing ancient wisdom. The underground network continues to yield occasional surprises, hidden passages, forgotten archives, additional manufacturing facilities, but each new discovery only reinforces the comprehensive nature of what has already been found. The underground builders left us everything we need to transform human civilization from its current trajectory towards something truly sustainable and beneficial for all. They preserved not just technical knowledge, but wisdom about how to use that knowledge responsibly. They provided not just solutions to specific problems, but frameworks for approaching the challenges that all advancing civilizations must face. Dr. Marchetti recently made a statement that captures the transformation these discoveries have brought about. We came to Mesopotamia looking for traces of the past. Instead, we found blueprints for the future. The underground builders didn't just show us what they achieved. They showed us what we could achieve if we're wise enough to learn from their example. The sealed chamber remains unopened, but it no longer seems to matter. The wisdom needed to transform human civilization has already been discovered, documented, and is being implemented across the globe. The final chamber may contain additional knowledge, but the most important gift the underground builders left us isn't hidden behind stone walls. It's written into the principles and frameworks they preserved throughout their vast archive network. As our journey through the forgotten underworld beneath ancient Mesopotamia comes to an end, we're left not with questions about what was lost, but with excitement about what could be gained. The ancient builders achieved something remarkable. They created a civilization that lasted thousands of years, developed extraordinary capabilities, and remained sustainable throughout its entire existence. But their greatest achievement may have been their wisdom about when to step back, when to preserve rather than exploit, when to trust future generations to use their legacy responsibly. They understood that true advancement isn't about achieving maximum capability as quickly as possible. It's about developing capabilities in ways that serve long-term human flourishing. The forgotten underworld is forgotten no more. Its secrets are becoming the foundation for a transformation of human civilization that honors both our potential and our responsibilities. The underground builders are no longer just ancient history. They're guides for our future, teachers whose wisdom spans millennia, ancestors whose greatest gift wasn't what they built, but how they chose to build it. Their legacy lives on not in the stone chambers beneath Mesopotamian sands, but in every sustainable city being planned according to their principles, every collaborative research project following their methods, every innovation evaluated through their ethical frameworks. The ancient future they preserved is becoming our present reality, and through our choices, it will become the inheritance we leave for generations yet to come. The forgotten underworld taught us something profound. We are not the first advanced civilization, and we don't have to be the last. With wisdom learned from those who came before, we can build something better, something that lasts, something that serves, something that honors the best possibilities of human development. The ancient builders showed us the way. Now it's up to us to walk it.